Dr. Griffin, I'd like to start with you because it's my understanding these treatments have really been around for decades, but for so many of us, this is new. So can you just explain what they are and how they work?
Oh, certainly. And I think that's maybe the first point is these treatments have been around for decades. I still remember a number of years ago when my mother said, Daniel, I'm on this new medicine, this new osteoporosis medicine. It's called Prolia. Do you know anything about this? And, I basically, I took a moment. I said, yes, Mom, I helped develop that back in the 90s when I was consulting for Amgen. Yes, I am familiar with that medicine, Mom. Now my mother-in-law is on that as well. These medicines have been around for decades. What's new now is very rapidly we've taken this technology and switched it over to help us fight an infectious disease in the midst of a pandemic. And what are these? They're really proteins that our body would make. They're those antibodies that you probably heard about. You get your vaccine, and so many weeks later, your body makes the antibodies, protects you from future infections. What this is here is you've got the COVID, and you don't have a few weeks. By the time a couple weeks go by, you may end up in the hospital. So we have the ability now in really a matter of minutes. It used to be an hour. We're down to a 16-minute infusion, 20
Wow.
minutes with some of the other products where they put an IV. And so many minutes later, you now have this protective shield, this antiviral protein monoclonal treatment. And this week was an exciting week for monoclonals because we're seeing that if you get these in that first week, before you get sick enough to end up in the hospital, 80–90%, you're not going to progress. Within a day or two, you're going to be like President Trump saying, I feel great.
And we did see that new information coming out from Eli Lilly that was on Wednesday, right? That kind of backed up the data that they had previously shown. I know that they put information out there on social media to let people know that it really did back up what they were initially seeing.
And I think that's great. I mean, a lot of physicians, a lot of the professional groups were saying, "Show us the data." We're hearing mumblings. We're hearing that it's really this dramatic, impressive, effective therapy, but we want to see that phase 3 trial. We want to see the data before we really roll forward. And now we've got that. We've got the phase 3 trial from Eli Lilly, which makes Bam Bam and the Bam Bam cocktail, and we've got the cocktail from Regeneron as well, both showing this really impressive effect if you get it in the first week.
Right, and we're actually showing those social media interactions between this one from Regeneron and the one before from Eli Lilly. And Diana, I know that with all of this, the time to act is almost as soon as you're diagnosed. So talk to me about trying to help make this connection for the people who meet this certain criteria.
Absolutely. So what's incredible, Elizabeth, is, I think about it. It was actually 1 year ago this morning that I woke up with COVID. I had been exposed earlier in the week, and it was 1 year ago exactly right now that I woke up with every symptom in the book, and I had no options. I stayed at home and I took Tylenol and Gatorade and crossed my fingers that I wouldn't end up in the hospital. But today, if you get diagnosed with COVID, you have the option to see if you qualify for these monoclonal antibodies as soon as possible. And the biggest mistake to make is to say, oh, well, I'll just wait to see how I feel in a few days and then I'll worry about it. Because if you get to the hospital, it's too late to get them. They can't be given in the hospital. The idea is you want to take it when you're still feeling good so that you can stay feeling good. And so you can get them in the first 10 days after diagnosis, but the earlier, the better. And ideally within the first 3 days, but seriously, the second you get that diagnosis, which is why you want to be prepared and know in advance of where to go and how to get it.